We're increasingly asking AI to make some really tough calls for us, like who gets a loan, who's a risk, who gets the job. But in that handoff, are we also outsourcing our own moral responsibility? Well, that's the core question we're really digging into today.
Think about this for a second. Back in 1977, when we sent a message out into the cosmos, we didn't just upload all of Wikipedia. No, a team led by the great Carl Sagan curated it. They painstakingly chose sounds and images to represent not just our knowledge, but our values, our emotions, what they hoped was the very best of us.
And that Voyager approach, based on values and context and real human emotion, it feels like a world away from how we often use AI today. We're now leaning on systems that are built for pure logic, for raw efficiency, and for massive, massive scale. That shift right there, that's what we need to unpack.
And that puts us right in the middle of what feels like a core conflict of our time, our own messy, nuanced humanity versus the clean, cold logic of the algorithm.
So, are we really comfortable letting an algorithm decide who gets bail or who gets that job you just applied for? These aren't just simple calculations. No way. They are judgments that require a kind of moral and cultural nuance that, let's be honest, a machine just doesn't have. And here's the kicker. Beyond the whole philosophical debate, there's a huge practical problem. Top researchers are basically shouting from the rooftops, warning us that many of these AI tools, the ones designed to predict what we'll do, they're just fundamentally flawed. They often just don't work as promised.
And listen, this is not some theoretical risk. We have real-world cautionary tales of what happens when these flawed algorithms are given real power in really high-stakes situations.
Okay, so our first stop is the U.S. justice system. There was an algorithm called Compass, and it was built to help judges predict if a defendant would reoffend. The goal on the surface was admirable: make the system fair by removing human bias.
But then, a groundbreaking investigation by ProPublica revealed a pretty shocking reality. The algorithm was twice as likely to wrongly flag Black defendants as high risk compared to white defendants. Think about that. It didn't eliminate bias, it automated it. And even worse, it disguised it with this veneer of objective, cold, hard science.
A huge part of the problem was just secrecy. Compass was what's called a black box, meaning its internal logic was a total secret. This quote is such a stark reminder that when we can't see how a decision is being made, we lose our ability to challenge it or to hold anyone accountable. And this danger isn't just confined to the courtroom. Let's shift gears and look at the workplace with an ambitious, but, ultimately failed AI hiring tool from Amazon. So, the goal was to have an AI screen resumes to find the best talent. Simple enough, right? But it was trained on a decade of the company's own hiring data that reflected a tech industry dominated by men. The AI quickly taught itself that male candidates were just preferable. It even started penalizing resumes that included the word women's. It took a decade of human bias and scaled it up with terrifying efficiency. That right there is scaled bias in action. So what's the common thread here? Well, first, these systems just mirror our own flawed histories. It's the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. Second, they hide their logic in that black box, making them impossible to challenge. And third, in this relentless quest for efficiency, they strip away the very empathy and context that makes us human. Okay, so that's the problem. And yeah, it's a big one. So what can we do? We can't just unplug everything. We need a new way to work with these tools, a framework for keeping our own judgment firmly in the driver's seat. So how do we start to fix this? Well, one really compelling idea is a framework called the moral augmentation loop. It's basically a 5-step process designed to force human values back into the equation. Let's see what that actually means in practice. Let's just zoom in on a few of these. Surface stakeholders asks who is impacted but might not even be in the data, a step that could have been a game changer in the Compass case. Then there's the newspaper test, which forces us to ask if our decision would hold up in a totally different culture, really challenging our own assumptions. And document intent. This creates accountability by forcing us to explain why we chose a certain path, piercing that whole black box problem we saw in both of our examples. This all points to a really different kind of future. See, the goal isn't to create some perfect, all-knowing moral AI that can just replace us. The real goal is to use AI to augment, to enhance our own moral decision-making. Because at the end of the day, an AI can process data like nothing else, but it can't grasp conscience. It doesn't get that ethics aren't universal. A decision that seems efficient or logical in one culture might be seen as deeply unfair or even harmful in another. And this right here, gets to the absolute heart of it. An AI can be programmed to ask, is this legally allowed? But it takes a human conscience to ask the deeper questions. Is this equitable? Is this truly beneficial for people in the long run? That's a responsibility we just can't code away. The hope isn't a future of person versus machine, but person plus machine. A future where our own conscience, augmented by the incredible analytical power of AI, can make better, wiser decisions than either of us could make on our own. The goal is for 1 + 1 to equal something far, far greater than 2.
So we have to leave it here with what is probably the single most important question in our AI-driven future. When a machine makes a moral choice that changes someone's life, who is truly accountable? The coder? The company that deployed it? The person who used it? That is the defining challenge we all now face.